But I did also like from a mood perspective. And when like I said, when I treated my SIBO, brain fog gone.
Yeah.
It's
Mood
like,
better.
this is crazy.
Hormones, balance.
Everything balanced. Yes, everything.
Period on
When
time.
you're exactly. Come see us.
Yeah. So far that this episode is for the gals, the girls that have IBS, that have struggles with bloating and gas, and maybe you have changes in your bowel movements and you're concerned. Maybe you saw a specialist and you're not getting the care that you need. Also, maybe with that, you see changes to your mood when your GI system flares. You might be more anxious or might feel more down. Maybe this is a good time to introduce the gut brain axis and
Yes.
how we start to peel back the layers to understand what it is and how we can support our patients in this way.
Under chronic stress in that fight or flight and not getting back into rest or digest, we're shunting the blood out of our GI system.
Yep, you're
So
not
we're
going to
actually not
digest.
digesting all
Yeah,
the organic, good, healthy foods.
or your supplements that
Or
you
your
spend all
supplements.
your good money on.
Exactly. You're spending all your money on.
Yep.
And when we're not breaking those things down, we're not getting those nutrients, which are critical.
Welcome back to the Heal for Real podcast. My name is Megan. I'm your host, Dr. Meg, the founder of Holistic Health Code. And today I'm so excited to have Tamra with us, our nurse practitioner. She is a board certified family nurse practitioner, and she's also certified in functional medicine. Tamra, welcome to the pod.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
You know,
and
me
talking
too.
about all of our favorite things.
All of our favorite things. I feel like we can talk for literally days about this.
Yes,
So we'll
part
have
two
to
coming soon.
yeah, we need a
Before we
part
even start.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Woohoo! So before we get into the gut brain axis, I would love for you to introduce yourself to our community, touch on your education and your training, and how did you find functional medicine?
Oh, I love it. So I actually am originally from Massachusetts, Western Massachusetts, and second career nurse. I was just really passionate about health and wellness. I grew up Division I college athlete, worked in the sports world for quite a while, and was sick of working in arenas and spending my whole paycheck at Whole Foods,
I get it.
but eating arena food and just not living the lifestyle that I wanted. So I kind of embarked on a health journey. I did my master's at Springfield College in health promotion and disease prevention. I actually think it was exercise science, but I focused on health promotion, disease prevention. And then I did the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in New York, and it was amazing. And that really helped kind of shift me out of my previous career into something I was more passionate about, which was also very applicable from what I was doing before, if that makes sense, right? So marketing,
Totally.
advertising, community relations, a lot of education. And then I worked in the natural product industry for a little while and loved it, but was sick of putting ads in Self magazine and
Yeah.
really wanted to work and coach. And I had taught, spin classes and functional fitness, was doing some health coaching kind of on the side. And that's when I ended up going to Springfield College, getting that master's, getting out of the sports world, and worked for a little bit. Again, sick of putting ads in magazines, wanted to work with people. And I'm going to be a nurse.
I
And
love
everyone's like,
it.
you're going to be a what? I'm like, I'm going to be a nurse. I think I knew I wanted functional integrative medicine. I just grew up in an area in Western Massachusetts. I had a naturopath, I had an MD, I was going to acupuncture. Herbs were always the thing that helped me, a lot of nervous system. I had a lot of gut stuff growing up. And it's always like, oh, you have IBS. You have IBS. Not do you eat food? Do you drink water? What is your stress like? Are you chewing your food? Is it real food? Nothing. So that kind of kickstarted. I think we all have that story, right? Of like either
Totally.
something happened to us or we wanted more answers or someone in our family. And so we wanted to start digging deeper and we realized, conventional medicine's amazing, but it doesn't go as far as we need sometimes. And
Right.
we just ask different questions. So I went to UMass Amherst, did my second bachelor's in nursing.
Me too.
I know, which I was like, there's the connection. There's lots of connections for us here.
I know.
And I was in that program. It was a very accelerated program. It was like a 6-day a week program.
Yep.
And
Honestly, 24/7.
it was 24/7.
I could not work.
Nope.
I don't know how people did.
I don't know how they did either, but good for them. They did.
Yeah.
But I was like, nope, I'm doing it. And in that program, it was really interesting because a lot of the teachers are like, oh, you're probably going to get sick and you're probably going to eat crap and it's nursing school. And I was like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like we're supposed to be taking care of people.
Right.
So I really used, I sort of said, be for balance. Like I'm going to study, but I'm going to mountain bike. I'm going to study, but I'm going to cook. I'm going to study and do yoga and spend time with friends and family. So my life's like maintaining a healthy lifestyle and not losing why I was going into nursing. Cause I went into nursing
Right.
to bring this, right?
Right.
To bring nutrition, to bring the foundations, lifestyle, to bring more listening, spending more time with patients. And when I had friends who were like, you're going to be a nurse, you're going to just like hand out medication all day. I'm like, that's not what nurses do.
Right.
And I want to bring what I know and my experience and my passion for wellness into mainstream healthcare because we
Love
needed
that.
it more, right?
You so need it.
So I brought that in, went through my nursing program. At the same time, I took my first functional medicine course through IFM. And it was at Kripalu out in the
So
Berkshires.
cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I just finished my nursing program and I actually called Ultra Wellness Center out in the Berkshires. And I said, I want to work in functional medicine. And they said, get your IFM certification.
Dr. Mark Hyman.
Dr. Mark Hyman. Yeah, exactly. And, growing up, I spent a lot of time in the Berkshires too. And so, Kripalu, there's just a lot of that. The farm to table, it's a
Yeah.
very
Very cultural
positive culture. Yeah. Yep. It's been very encouraging and supportive of that. And so I was like, all right, what's my first course? So I did the course at Kripalu and I think it was functional medicine, functional nutrition for nurses, something like that. I can't remember the exact thing what it was, but it was a long weekend. Monique Class was there.
Nice.
Christy, she's not with IFM anymore. Anyway, they're kind of some of the first people with IFM certification. So I did that. And then same time I was moving to Boise, Idaho. And I remember I was like, Boise, Idaho. Is there functional medicine? Is there a Whole Foods? Is there a co-op? And of course there is. And I actually pinpointed the practice that I was like, I'm going to be a patient there and I'm going to work there as a nurse practitioner. And kind of the rest was history. So I moved to Boise. I was a nurse in ortho neuro rehab, which I loved. I get to spend time with patients because they were there for an average at least 12 days. And everyone would always get Tamra. They can talk about nutrition. She'll talk about nutrition. She'll get them outside. She'll talk to the families. And so I did spend a lot of time educating families and talking about nutrition. It's not just more, I'll have another waffle, give me more insulin. I was like, you can't do that. And some patients weren't open, but a lot of families were like, oh, we didn't know this. So it was kind of gave me the platform to build. My nurse manager at the time was really supportive. And she said, you know what, we have funding for education. Go to your first IFM conference. So I went to
It's incredible.
IFMCP in San Diego. Ended up meeting the owner of the practice that I wanted to work at.
No way.
I became a nurse and nutritionist at a small functional medicine practice. And then, worked there, still was working as a floor nurse, but doing a lot of health coaching, nutrition coaching based on the IFM kind of protocols. Loved it. Knew I was going to do my NP, started my NP, got pregnant, started my NP, did my IFM certification, and I love building programs. I love working one-on-one with patients, and then found you guys this spring.
Yeah.
It's time to make some changes, and I think get back into taking care of my family and
Yourself.
myself, flexibility, building what we wanted to build, and I'll never forget when the job. I was like, oh my gosh, it's close to my family, and we happen to go to the same school.
Yeah.
We use the same everything. It just was a very, I don't really.
Seamless.
It was totally seamless.
Yeah.
I don't think there was much of a learning curve at all. It was just like, oh,
it felt very aligned.
yeah,
For sure.
it
From the
totally,
beginning.
yeah. And I feel like we complement each other so well.
Same.
I did the Aviva Ram certification as well,
You
her
did.
practitioner program. So she's also in the Berkshires.
Yep.
Very similar to IFM, but rooted more in women's health.
I love that.
Very herbal. I was primarily working with women in Boise. And so kind of I dove into that. Also working with women. There's just no way to work with women in gut health without also tackling mood, anxiety, depression. And there's so many factors. It's never just one thing.
Right.
So Dr. Greenblatt out of Tufts runs a psychiatry redefined program. And I did a couple month training with him on integrative and functional psychiatry. He also has an amazing fellowship, which I did not do, but I did the training. And it, again, very similar to IFM, the connections are similar, but really focused on a couple levels deeper in terms of gut brain connection, mood, how in conventional medicine, we're working off the DSM-5 and it's kind of a check marks, but there's so many different things that influence. And our brains are not separate from our body, right? Separate. It's so interesting, kind of going through nursing school. And it's like, well, you send people to the psychiatrist for this and the GI for this.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I do see a lot of patients now, and even members who I'm like, it's all connected.
Right.
Members who have I've seen every specialist
Yep.
and they can't figure it out. And when I was new, I'm like, oh, I'm glad you're going to see me because I'm the new NP, but they're like, you listen
Yeah.
and you dig deep. And that's what we do.
Yeah.
And that's what I love what we do.
Connect
Like
the dots.
you connect the dots.
Yep.
And there's not, we were saying, when we walked in, like there's not one linear way. It's not like I'm working with a woman in her 40s and it's just hormones. Like,
Right.
can it be? Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're
Usually
sleeping,
not.
no, usually not.
Yeah.
Your third. But I mean, there's so many things. And that's the other fun thing about podcasts. Like there's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
Right.
I love how you just skim the surface though on so many things that we want to get deeper on, especially when you brought up the women in her 40s. Yes, it could be hormone imbalances, but how did we get here in the first
Yeah.
place? And commonly we do start in the gut.
Yeah. Absolutely. Plug for any women out there. Right.
Yeah.
So come see us or see a
Come see
functional
us.
provider. Come see us or a functional provider before
Yeah.
perimenopause.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Before you want to have babies, before, you're making that transition. I love working with women. I mean, I love working with all women. I love working
Yeah.
with everybody. I work with kiddos. I work with men.
Yeah, we do have
Um,
more and more kids joining the practice,
yeah,
which is a really cool
which is
thing.
so awesome because
Yeah.
we're getting that microbiome. We're getting all
Right.
that balance before puberty,
Right.
before going to college, and we're setting that foundation. Even my kiddo is like, that's junky.
Yeah, he
I
knows.
want I need some colors or I need
Yeah.
some protein. I want to build like, and it's just nice. And I think other generations, like people are growing up, there's younger people now saying, well, what's in my food? They're asking the
Right.
questions. No more red dye.
Yeah, thank God.
Right.
It's about time.
But there's so much and that's the beauty of, I think, functional integrative holistic medicine is that
Yeah.
we can work with you where you're at, but come see us before there's something.
Yeah.
And that's what I saw a lot in the hospital. A lot of patients, I'm like, oh, I wish I could have seen you 2 years ago
Yeah.
or
We
3 years ago.
that too.
Right. Of like, but it's also research,
Mm-hmm.
right? Of just seeing everyone and saying, okay, there's a place for this medicine. This is really important.
Right.
And there's also really a place for what we do.
Yeah.
Um,
100%. There's
right.
room for everybody at the table.
And you're here. I mean, you hear everybody's talking about
Yeah.
everyone's talking about women's health now. Everyone's
Yeah.
talking about hormones, but it's not just one thing. I mean, your hormones can be a little bit out of balance, or maybe they're totally fine. You're cycling regularly, but you have SIBO.
Yeah.
Or IBS. You're not sleeping, or you're not absorbing your food because you're so stressed and you're too much cortisol. I mean, there's a lot of things, and that's that.
And that's that. So I think we established so far that this episode is for the gals, the girls that have IBS, that have struggles with bloating and gas, and maybe you have changes in your bowel movements and you're concerned. Maybe you saw a specialist and you're not getting the care that you need. Also, maybe with that, you see changes to your mood when your GI system flares. You might be more anxious or might feel more down. Maybe this is a good time to introduce the gut brain axis and
Yes.
how we start to peel back the layers to understand what it is and how we can support our patients in this way. For those that are listening and don't know about the gut brain axis, give us like a high level what it is.
So I think of the gut brain axis as basically a bidirectional highway.
Exactly.
And there's several ways that the brain communicates to the gut. But there's actually our gut sends more messages to our brain than our brain sends to our gut.
That's a good
So
tip.
gut is the second brain or gut is the first brain, but they do impact each other for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's about 30 to 40% of people with IBS report symptoms of anxiety.
Yeah.
I think there's over 300 million people with anxiety. Don't quote me on the statistics. I mean, I could probably, yeah, we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
And so we also say our gut is the gateway to health. But I totally agree. But I think we have two gateways. I think we have our nervous system and I think we have our gut.
Yeah.
And our gut impacts our nervous system. So our gut as a bidirectional highway communicates to our brain via the vagus nerve in one way. And so our gut also has its own nervous system. So the vagus nerve is part of I typically think parasympathetic nervous system, part of our autonomic nervous system, automatically communicates.
Right.
The vagus nerve starts at our brain stem, goes all the way down to our gut. It's the longest, I think it's the largest nerve in our body.
Mm-hmm.
And it innervates several other organs, our heart, I mean, everything all the way to the gut. And then it makes its way into the gut. And so the gut responds to everything that goes into our body. It responds to our stress response. It responds to all these different inputs. And then it sends the messages back to the brain. So from the vagus nerve, also GLP-1s, our gut makes GLP-1, right? Communicates via the vagus nerve. And that's the vagus nerve, goes up the vagus nerve, tells our brain we're full or whatever message it's sending, right? So we all know about the GLP-1, or
Yep.
that's a hot
Having
topic.
a
So
moment
that's an
right
easy
now.
way to say, right?
Yeah.
So our nervous system, our immune system, our endocrine system, we actually have 2 pounds of microbes in our gut,
Wild.
right? And what do they do? Like, what do they do?
Yeah.
So our gut also produces neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine.
Dopamine, feel
Um,
good neurochemicals.
Yep. And there is a misconception, and I have said this wrong for years as a
Yeah.
coach and nutritionist. Our gut does make more serotonin than our brain, but the serotonin made in our gut doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier. So the serotonin in our gut helps with motility, secretions, immune support. So it has a role, but we really want to be making serotonin in our brain.
Right.
And one of my kind of side facts is we need vitamin D to make serotonin. If we have low vitamin D, we're making more serotonin in our gut. Too much serotonin in our gut can lead to leaky gut. If we have adequate vitamin D, we're making serotonin where we need, and so we're making it in our brain, and that's where we have peace. And then the same, very similar with dopamine. Um, the neurotransmitters in our gut are also responsible for blood flow. So we need adequate blood flow for our GI system to work properly. I mean, our if we don't have blood flow, everything kind of stops, right?
Right.
And that can happen elsewhere in our body as well. Inflammation and immune, 80, some people say 80%, 90%
Yeah.
of our immune system's in our gut, right? So if we have inflammation in our gut, we're going to have inflammation and our immune system can be overacting. So I also say if there's, inflammation in our gut, systemic inflammation, our brain's still connected. We established that at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's not just separate, right? So let's see, like
Gut inflammation,
gut inflammation,
neuroinflammation.
neuroinflammation. Our gut plays a role in BDNF. The BDNF is brain-derived neurotropic factor.
I think that's right.
Yep, which impacts neuroplasticity. So there's that piece. Anywhere there's inflammation throughout, right? And that's what we want. So anxiety, depression, ADHD, autism. Autism is actually a systemic inflammatory, right? Heal the gut, clean up, reduce inflammation. That's where we start in functional integrative medicine, no matter what, right? It's not, no one ever comes in and says, well, at least not to us, right?
Right.
My hormones are off, I have anxiety. It's like, oh, let's put you on this. It's usually, that's the diagnosis.
How do we get here?
How do we get here? What's the balance? What are the imbalances, or where are the where do we need to bring balance? What's causing the symptoms? So for us, and I see actually a lot of nurses, and sometimes it's like, but I have this, so this is what's causing my symptoms. And it's like, this is the name of the symptoms that you're having. And that's how we look at it differently. And that's how we as clinicians also, we critically think, but we also go down different. It's like, okay, so when someone says, I guess let's go back to the gut-brain axis. We talked about the vagus nerve, the bidirectional highway, neurotransmitter production, inflammation, infection, right? So if we have an overgrowth of bad guys in the gut, like candida, brain fog,
Right. Exactly.
for sure.
But candida is secondary to something, right?
It's
It
secondary
doesn't happen on its own.
right? And we talked to you about the germ theory versus the train theory.
Yep.
So it can just be the germ, and we want, like, I actually would prefer, it's like, oh, we just have this germ, let's get it, and it's done. But so many people come to us into the terrain, like, why is our body why are the systems not working cohesively together to fight off the bug? Epstein-Barr is a great example, right? Like, some people we fight it off and it's done and that's it.
Right.
And other times it just lingers.
Yeah.
Right.
In the background.
Yep. Lingers in the background, or it's activated. I didn't sleep. It's back. So it is bringing that body into balance. And I say to patients, what do you have too much of? What do you not have enough of?
Yeah.
That can be vitamin D. That can be sleep. That can be Twinkies. That can be, you name it. It can be those things. So it does go beyond a physiological component, I think. Dysbiosis. So dysbiosis can be, standard American diet. With dysbiosis, I just think things are out of balance.
Imbalance of bacteria.
Yep.
Yeah.
Overgrowth of the bad guys.
Or microbes in general.
The microbes.
Yeah.
The more bad guys, the more bad things we have. Like polysaccharides, endotoxins.
Yeah.
The more bad guys are in there, the more inflammation, right? So they kind of go hand in hand. And some of the gut tests that we look at, they do look at like dysbiosis or inflammation-driven dysbiosis. Or you can have inflammation without dysbiosis. You can have dysbiosis without inflammation. You can have leaky. They all just kind of go together. And so I think when we're looking at the gut and the gut-brain connection, it's not just one thing,
right?
It's never just the one thing. It's as an ecosystem, how is the gut functioning and how is it able to communicate to the brain? And there are other pieces, the HPA axis, cortisol we have, the leakier our gut. So anxiety, stress, and that can be real stress or real anxiety. And parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system. If we're under chronic stress in that fight or flight and not getting back into rest or digest, we're shunting the blood out of our out of our GI system.
Yep. You're
So
not
we're
going to
actually not
digest.
digesting all
Yeah.
the organic, good, healthy foods
Or your supplements that
or
you
your
spend all
supplements.
your good money on.
Exactly. You're spending all your money on.
Yep.
And when we're not breaking those things down, we're not getting those nutrients, which are
Mhm.
critical
Right.
for brain health
To heal.
to heal. Yep.
Mhm.
I mean, magnesium, your B's, there's so many things. And we do. I mean, I use supplements and
Yeah.
I use testing for sure. And supplements, I feel like, are really important when we're trying to bring something into balance or
Right.
working on a protocol.
Mhm.
And I will use them while we're working on gut. But the goal is to work
Yeah.
on the gut, to work on the nervous system, usually at the same time,
Mhm.
and then not need the supplements
Right. It's a treatment.
as a treatment. Yep.
Right.
It's supposed to be a short-term protocol. Um, I mean, leaky gut, like, let's see what
We
else.
should get into that a little bit. So it sounds like so far we established the gut brain axis, and the gut tends to be a primary driver for inflammation. It can affect your mood and your brain health. Feel like dysbiosis is something that really goes missed amongst our patients. So we established that it's an imbalance of microbes. Walk me through your testing strategy, what you're looking for, and then maybe we can get into some treatments that we offer.
Yeah, absolutely. There are several different gut tests out there. I will tell patients you don't have to have a gut symptom
Mm,
to have dysbiosis,
I love that.
right? You and I
100%.
had a client the other day who was like, "Well, I don't have any GI symptoms," and she's
Right.
like, "Well, actually, hold on. My cycles are irregular. I have
Yeah.
acne.
I'm
I'm
depressed. I'm
depressed. I'm
anxious.
anxious. I have joint pain.
Hmm.
I have like
Brain
whatever, brain
fog.
fog, all those
Eczema
things.
is a good one.
Eczema is a really
Hmm.
good thing, right? Too. Um, so I'm like, well, so I still like to look at the gut.
Hmm.
And the way I've been trained in my gut feeling,
Yeah.
I was just to never like, I never want to skip that because
Yeah.
I do find a lot in tests. I'm a test, don't guess.
Hmm.
Um,
Same.
right.
I
I
like
think,
info.
I mean, sometimes it's really clear and you don't have to test, we can treat, but I like to find out exactly what's going on so we can expedite the treatment protocol. I'll give just kind of a side note. I had SIBO. I knew I had SIBO.
Me too.
And I was like, I look more pregnant than when I was actually 9 months pregnant. Anything I ate, so it didn't matter at that point. I was like, I'm not going to avoid
Water.
things. I'm not. Yep.
Water would do it.
Yeah.
Wake
Yeah.
up.
I look out. I'm like,
Terrible.
oh, there we go.
Hmm.
Here we
Yep.
go. Nothing's going to fit today. And then I didn't
Hmm.
want to work out. And
Hmm.
then I was like, my mood for sure, definitely brain fog. I mean, I finally kind of bit the bullet. I'm like, I'm just going to test. My markers were like 90, and they were so high. I was like, give me the antibiotics
Yeah.
now.
At this point.
At, in sometimes we treat without, and
Hmm.
there's a combination. I did the antibiotics for 2 weeks. 1 week and my brain fog was gone.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, I am back. Okay. I can do this.
I can do
I can do this. I
this.
mean, my brain fog, even like fatigue, my workouts were better.
Hmm.
It was awesome. And I did follow with an antimicrobial protocol
Yeah.
and, and I'm not afraid to treat it again, but I kicked it, which has been
Yeah.
great. And then I did GI effects, which is one of the tests by Genova that I like.
Yep.
And my secretory IgA was super high, like off
Hmm.
the charts. It was like over 7,000.
Wow.
Um, I had also had COVID.
Hmm.
I had a COVID.
Throw that in the mix.
Yeah, I had a baby. I tore my ACL, so I all these different things, and I'm like, I got to get my gut right. I'm
Yeah.
helping everyone else get their gut right.
Yeah.
Um, and my inflammatory markers were super high. I didn't have a ton of dysbiosis, but I was like, okay, treated brain fog better,
Yeah.
like joint pain, weight, just everything start like the bloating. I mean, if you heal the bloat, it's like I
Yeah.
feel like you lost everything
I
feels
know.
better.
Feels
I
so
like
much
work out.
better.
I just was always like at the end of dinner, I'm like,
Yeah.
in my pants doesn't feel
It
good.
doesn't.
Um,
What was it? Xifaxin, neomycin?
Xanax,
Okay. Okay.
and I always had a binder.
Yep. Me too.
And I'm not afraid. And it's when I first started practicing, I'm like, people treat it with like I don't use antibiotics. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, we do.
I do. I
Like
do.
in
Y-
my
It's limited though. It's not
yeah,
always covered and it's expensive out of pocket. So
yeah.
sometimes we can't.
I've been having to pivot a lot with
Mm.
patients too, like using elemental heal diets. I
Yeah.
use the Candibactin ARBR.
Yeah.
There's other tests. So I use Genova, GIFX. I also like GI map. We use
Yep.
a lot of that.
I like that one.
Um, I've been using the Thorn a little bit.
Yep.
Um, I also just started using the microbiome labs
It's a cool
test.
test.
It's really
I
cool.
need to learn
Um,
more about that one.
our educator is amazing, and I've worked with them, and their team has been really great. There's a lot of gut protocols. There's a lot of gut supplements.
Yeah.
There's so many different things. And so for me, to not get overwhelmed, I kind of just sticked with the evidence, the research, and then having a great educator. When I first started, Tracy spent an hour. I'm like, I would just schedule an hour with her a week, and I'm like, tell me about this. Tell me the science behind this, because as much as I want to write a book and I want to know
Right.
everything, I'm in
You'll
practice
never
every single day,
right.
right? So having those resources and the people around you who are writing the books or who are doing the research
Yeah.
is amazing. So I just started using that test, but tests are all organized a little bit differently. What I
Mhm.
like about them is overall, when we're looking at digestive testing, we're looking at digestive capacity.
Mhm.
So I like to say, you know, are you chewing? Are you eating real food? Are you
Mhm.
chewing your food? Are you breaking it down? Do you have stomach acid? Do you have
Mhm.
enough enzymes to break things down? We also know if you don't have enough stomach acid, you're more susceptible to H. pylori, to
Bugs.
SIBO, to
Yeah.
bugs. So things not being where they're supposed to be or living where they're supposed to be
Mhm.
down in our GI tract.
Right.
So that I start there. And a lot of people with SIBO like bloating will add in some digestive enzymes, depending. I mean, again,
Mhm.
this is all individualized. And it's like, oh my gosh, because we do want your symptoms. I don't want
Yeah.
to be like, we're going to heal your gut for the next 12 months, but you're going to be bloated until then. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, what are some things we can do to add in
Yeah.
to
There's
help
a
expedite
short game, long game.
short game, long? Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that short game, long
Yeah.
game. So digestive capacity, we
Mhm.
look at inflammation,
Yeah.
so inflammatory markers, calprotectin, secretory IgA, eosinophil protein X, I think it
Mhm.
is.
Mhm. From a GI map.
Yeah, in the GI map.
Mhm.
Yep, and I like those because both of those things are important,
Right.
right? So dysbiosis is another one. So overgrowth of good guys and bad guys. Some of the tests, actually all of them, are like several pages long. I did
It's a
some
lot of
vibrant
info.
wellness, right? The gut tumor,
Yeah.
which I love. I mean, there's so much. And I remember as a new provider, I'm like, I have
The
to
gut tumor is
oh my God,
insane.
it is insane. It is like 90
I
patients.
never order that because it's too overwhelming for me.
Those are the first tests I started doing for a
Oh my
while. And
goodness.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna
Yeah.
switch. I love them all. And I haven't found one that there's no perfect test,
Right.
right? Um, I honestly will kind of base it on the client or patient, right? Someone who wants to dig into the data or someone who's like, just give me an overview.
Yeah.
Either way, at the end of the day, when we're looking at dysbiosis, I'm not ever really getting into like each specific bacteria. I'm looking at
Yeah.
as a community, how are your bacteria in your gut functioning together,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
So do you not have enough good guys? Is your Akkermansia really low? Is the staph, are the bad guys overtaken?
Yeah.
And that can be
Staph
caused
and strep,
staph and strep.
Pseudomonas.
And I see that a lot. And then I think of skin,
Mhm.
and I think of brain. I mean, we
Yeah.
could have an overgrowth. It doesn't mean when I'm looking at those gut tests, it doesn't mean that, oh, we need antibiotics for that. We can use antimicrobials and
Yeah.
some really heavy hitting probiotics.
Prebiotic fiber.
Yeah, prebiotics. And the gut tests we're doing too are different. Like if you come to me and you say, I just came back from India, I have explosive diarrhea,
Yeah.
or I was
That happens
camping.
more often than you would think.
Totally, I'm
Yeah.
camping, or this happened, or I think I have food poisoning. That we're typically sending over Ampera, we're sending
Yeah.
it through Quest, or that's different.
More
And that
urgent.
we're treating, it's more of an
Yeah.
urgent, this is what's going on. These are for the patients who are like, I did that and they said everything was fine, or I treated that 5 years ago, but I still have something going on. So we're
Right.
looking a lot deeper. This is a much more intricate, comprehensive test. So digestive capacity, dysbiosis,
Mhm.
inflammation, other like metabolic. I just say the metabolic health of our gut, right? Do we have enough short chain fatty acids? So I'm
Mhm.
looking at more of the quality and the health of the gut cells. And we forget that. We're looking at like the bad guy overgrowth, and do we have enough good guys? But we forget we have a gut lining, and those
Yeah.
cells in our gut lining change every 3 to 4 days. So every week we have a new gut lining, and our gut lining is one cell thick. Right
Right.
below is the immune system. So if those cells have aren't getting the right fuel, like the short chain fatty acids, we need good bacteria to make short chain fatty acids
Mhm.
to build those up. Then we're not then those guys are not going to be they're not going to be the way they need to. They're
Not
not
gonna
going to
do
be
their
absorbing the
job.
nutrients. They
Yeah.
can't do their job. And then that creates more inflammation,
Right.
which activates the immune system. And then we have our cytokines and our
Yep.
interleukins, all the different things that kind of pop up. So I think, and that marker specifically that I see is on the GI effects.
Hmm.
So I do like that. And then we look at pathogenic overgrowth, infection,
Mhm.
right? And that's huge. Um, I
It
mean,
is.
I see a lot of candida. I do see a lot of H. pylori. I
Yeah.
see the
Same.
stuff. I mean, it really depends what's there. But again, it's not necessarily about that specific bug or overgrowth. It's how is it impacting altogether. So a lot of times, um, yeah, that's how we're looking at it. The microbiome labs is different. I just started using that test. I think I've ordered like six, and it shows things through a different lens. It's very similar, but it also talks more about the estrobolome.
Yeah.
So the estrobolome, like we don't have good bacteria in our estrobolome, we're recycling and we're keeping excess estrogen. So when people
Right.
say, "Well, I don't have any symptoms," I'm like, "Well, you have tender breasts and crampy periods and really
Yeah.
heavy periods. Like we're still going to start in the gut,
Right.
right?"
Mhm.
Um, it also talks about histamine production.
Yep.
So histamine also for sure related. I mean, allergies in
That can
general,
also contribute to
but
anxiety,
anxiety,
right?
insomnia, I
Yeah.
mean, there's so many connections.
Mhm.
And I do like that test that allows us to um, Yeah, more on that test
More of
because
a
that's
broader
still new,
scope.
but
Yeah.
there's several ways to test the gut.
Yeah.
I like them. Some patients have brought in tests they've done on their own at home,
Mm.
and I'm happy to go over those. But
Yeah.
I like the clinician driven
Right.
tests that tend to give us more. And I mean, there's so many ways to treat different parts
Yeah.
of the gut, right? So I typically will, when I'm going over things, one, making sure you're digesting your food.
Mm-hmm.
So digestive enzymes, apple cider vinegar sometimes, depending. I mean, there's several different, I won't go out. I mean, there's several different
Yeah.
brands and I do kind of nitpick for
Yeah.
certain things.
Same. We get caught up on our own
Yeah.
specific brands
Which,
too, I think.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's so many great brands,
Yeah.
but it's hard to know them all.
Yeah.
And I try to go for affordability.
Yep.
I also want,
Same.
like, I want to do a protocol that I know is going to work
Yeah.
and I like it to follow. So, starting up, so digestive enzymes,
Mm-hmm.
depending on symptoms, sometimes I will do like a betaine challenge or apple
Yeah.
cider vinegar challenge.
Okay.
That can be really
That can be
helpful.
helpful in cost.
Yep. And sometimes I'll do that too, even before we get the gut test results back,
Yeah.
because then we know, okay, there's a stomach acid thing going on.
Mhm.
So SIBO is more likely. These things are going to be more likely. Because if we're not killing the bugs, that's what our stomach acid's for, to
Right.
neutralize. If we're not neutralizing, hello, anything
Yeah.
that wants to
You're at
grow,
risk. Yeah.
all the bad guys crowd all of the good things and
Right.
to kind of repopulate.
Have to start there.
Yeah, have to start there. So upper, I think, then I typically address any kind of infection.
Mm.
So I'll try to get the infection. Again, depending on what it is. Do you want me to go into some of the different?
Yeah, I feel like commonly, what are you seeing on these
I mean, I do see a lot
tests?
of strep,
Yep.
a lot of staph.
Strep, staph.
Yeah, we're probably seeing very similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am seeing a lot of candida, so
Yep.
like the fungal piece. And
Mm-hmm.
we all have these. We all have good and bad bugs, right? But
Mm-hmm.
we need to keep them in balance. It's when the bad ones outshine the commensals or the good, like our keystones,
Right.
then our keystones can't do their job.
Right.
And that's when it's like there can be overgrowth without an infection. There can be
Mm-hmm.
overgrowth, dysbiosis, and infection.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny that we're sitting here just
Right.
talking about gut bugs
Yeah.
all morning.
Well,
I
there
love it. I'm
it
like,
can
oh
be
my
like a under, well, how can I say this? Like your good bugs can be low also
god. Yes.
with the absence, I'll say, of a pathogen.
Yeah,
And that can still be considered dysbiosis.
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Like it doesn't have to be bad guys infection. It can just be, hey, we need to support these good guys. And I do see
Mm-hmm.
that often. Like good guys are low. Let's just
Yeah.
boost these. Let's
Yeah.
boost these with fiber. Let's boost these with like polyphenols. Let's
Yeah.
boost them with. I use a lot of ghee.
Yeah.
Sometimes I use green. I mean, it all depends. But
Yeah.
so we talked about digestive enzymes. We talked about infection, kind of healing
Mm-hmm.
infection, and kind of pathogens, neutralizing those, and then inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
So I do usually follows the phases
Right. Are
while
you
we're
using like that framework? However you want to package it, 4R, 5R, 6R. Are
you
you
know
using that in your mind to explain or using it at least like as a framework for patient education?
I do use it as a framework.
Okay.
Um, it's funny. I don't think I've ever sat and say we're going to do the 5R
Yeah.
protocol. I mean, yes, when I did my IFM training,
Yeah.
but
That's how
I
they
over and over
taught
and over.
you.
Yep, it's
Yeah.
like remove, reduce.
Yeah.
I honestly can't remember.
Remove, replace, renoculate, repair.
Yeah. Yep.
And then depending on who taught
Yeah.
you, there might be another R thrown in
Yes.
there.
Yeah. There could be like 12 hours. I'm usually looking at like, let's make sure you're breaking down your food. Let's get any kind of
Yeah.
infection out,
Right.
and then let's
That's,
repair.
you have to
Yep.
start with infection.
Yep.
Otherwise, you'll be spinning your wheels.
Totally. And that's why that's why I like testing. 'Cause I'm
Yeah.
like, if there's something in there, like we can
Gives
do
you
a total
clarity.
gut,
Yeah.
but it's not going to necessarily heal something. And some
Right.
patients,
And sometimes you need the antibiotic
yeah,
or the antimicrobial,
yes,
and you might not know if you didn't test.
yep, and we wouldn't know that.
Right.
And yeah, and then from a dysbiosis, I like microbiome labs.
Yeah.
I do. They have a product called Mega Mucosa. They have Mega IgG.
I'm using them a ton now ever since you joined.
I
I never did. I
Yeah,
never pursued any of their training. And now I feel like I'm reaching towards their stuff more and more because you're so passionate about their stuff.
shout out to Tracy Merritt,
I know.
Microbiome Labs. I don't know if I can do that on the podcast, but I just
No,
did.
you
So,
can.
she again, right when I started as a practitioner,
Supported you in
she
a
supported
way.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she pulled up the research. I mean,
It's amazing.
I'm like, are you like PhD? She's like, I'm an educator. Like I'm an
Yeah.
educator. I mean, she has her own story. She's really, really well trained.
Yeah.
And that company, Karen Christian, they've been amazing. So I use a lot of their protocols. And I've just gotten comfortable enough, like, with their IBD protocols, with their Candida, with their IBS. I mean, they have different protocols. I've just gotten really even more comfortable kind of picking and choosing what I want based on patient experiences, based on lifestyle, based on their diet. But their mega mucosa has amino acids and immunoglobulins. So when I think of amino acids, building blocks of cells,
Right.
and immunoglobulins, kind of immune support,
Mhm.
also as a binder, cleaning things up.
I was gonna say
So,
that too, bind to
yeah.
pathogens.
And so that's what I'm thinking usually when I'm thinking leaky gut, binding
Mhm.
things. But as we're increasing digestive capacity and killing off infection and then healing and sealing the gut, we're also bringing things into balance. It's not just like one piece is doing one thing. They all are working
Right.
together. And it's a really nice, um, I think, like progression. And then I like spore-based probiotics.
Mhm.
I call them like probiotics with armadillo shells.
Okay.
99.9% get where they're supposed to go. The stomach acid does not get, like, they get
Mhm.
to where they're going. And I rarely will say, oh, you're just low in this. You need this one. The
Mhm.
spore base are really good about feeding the good guys
Right, like gently
gently. Yes.
modulating.
Yep. Like I think of our guys, the community. I don't know
Mhm.
why I always think of Monopoly, and I think of like what's being built on my Monopoly, and
Yeah.
like how do we balance and like and how do we take care of the neighborhood, right? Or like how the garden, right? How do we take
Mhm.
care of it? And then I add prebiotics. The prebiotic through microbiome labs, I really like is there like the way they formulated it. It just feeds what's supposed to feed.
Mhm.
So I always say heal and seal, like neutralize pathogens, heal, seal, shift the gut ecology, and then feed the good guys. I'm not a you have to be on probiotics for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I think it's helpful if you're traveling.
Yeah.
I like a good
Like
binder
after an acute
after an
illness
acute
or
illness.
after antibiotics
Yep.
or
Stress.
stressful
Yep.
anything.
Anything like that. And
Mhm.
so, and I've used some of their protocols. I had a patient with OCD,
Yeah.
and she had just started the mega mucosa, and she came back to me. She's like, "Okay, I'm in."
Yeah.
She's like,
Y
"I
that
actually
I
trust."
love that, like, the one thing
And this is
that moves the
anecdotal.
needle for them,
Yes,
and then they're like, "Okay, I'm all the way in."
yeah, I'm in. Like, I guess, and she was very like very slow in terms of like changing diet and things like
Mhm.
that. But she's like, I was able to go away and I didn't get triggered by anything. And I was able to actually relax and function in an environment that's typically has my
Stimulating.
OCD too
Yeah.
stimulated. Um, I mean, food too, right? So I was trained through IFM. I do the elimination protocol. I want to rebrand it. We need to
Yep.
rebrand
I
it.
know, we
And
really
we
do.
can, I call it the anti-inflammatory gut healing plan. We
Yeah.
remove food triggers that are inflammatory.
Yep.
We pump you full of anti-inflammatory. It's not
Mhm.
about restriction. It's about abundance of healing.
Yeah.
Um,
Crowding out.
crowding them out,
Yeah.
feeding all the good stuff. And as a nurse and nutritionist, I mean, I used to see like 8 patients a day, and I would go over the same thing. And so I ended up creating like a group series, and rather than repeating the same things, then everyone learned from each other.
Mm.
But I never had someone do the elimination protocol and say, "I wish I didn't do that."
Yeah.
Most people are like, "Joint pain gone. I didn't
Yeah.
even realize I had brain fog.
Yeah.
My skin." And that's why too when we talk about acne, right? It's like
Mhm.
everyone's like it's hormones.
It's
I'm like,
another access
it can
that we can get
yes,
into.
that's another access. Yep, next that's
Gut skin access.
yeah, gut skin access, another one.
Yeah.
Um, but also like from a mood perspective. And when I
Mhm.
like I said, when I treated my SIBO, brain fog gone.
Yeah.
It's
Mood
like
better.
this is crazy.
Hormones
Ho-
balanced.
Everything's balanced. Yes, everything
Period on
when
time.
you're yes, exactly. Come see us.
Yeah.
um, I mean, it is brain fog sucks.
Yeah, it does.
You're
It's
bloated, you're like fog
disrupting.
here and fog
Yeah.
up here, and you're just
Yeah.
like, what is going on? I
Yeah.
don't fit into my clothes. This is uncomfortable. I'm
Yeah.
working out, I'm trying to eat more protein, but now I'm
Yeah.
even more bloated. Like it's so hard. And there's so many different messages out there.
Yeah.
And there's no more TikTok, but there's
Yeah.
like Instagram, all the different stories and messages, right? That like
Yeah.
it's like I don't even know what to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of like all the recipes. I'm like, I save all these recipes. My husband's
Yeah.
like, when are we going to see those? I'm like, I don't know. Oh, I have 1,000 archived. I just get overwhelmed. I'm like, I don't even know what to
That's
make.
why you
And
need somebody. You
that's
need
why
a
you,
Tamra in your life.
yes, or Meg,
Yeah.
or Dr. K or Dr. P.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's good to have a guide.
Yeah, it
And I
is. You
think
need one.
more and more people,
Soundboard, help you to make
yes.
decisions.
And we're a team. Like I
Yeah.
will never tell someone what to do. I'll use my clinical experience. I'll use the
Yep.
guidelines I follow and clinical resources and anecdotal, like what I see through patients. But at the end of the day, like I always tell patients, you're the boss. I work for you.
Yeah.
You're coming to me. You're telling me this is how you're feeling. Here are the options.
Yeah.
Some people want it all out on the table and they'll
Yeah.
make a decision. Great. Some people are like, I don't want to know it all. Just tell me what I need to do and I'll do it tomorrow
I know it's
or I'll
so
do it right
funny
now.
the difference between patients that you have.
Yeah.
Like I have a patient that doesn't want to know any of the background, could truly care less what the GI map says,
Yeah.
but she's like, just tell me what to do, send it to me, and I'll start tomorrow. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
great. And
And
there's other patients that I have to, give all of the context, which I love to
yes.
do because I think when you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
But there are different approaches to
There
this, and
definitely
it's
are.
okay. We'll meet you where you are, and we work for you, so
Totally.
it's totally on you.
Yeah. And it's great. And I mean, you can do these protocols to the T, but
Yeah.
back to elimination protocol, I do think that um, that is a great
Place to start.
place to start. And we do. People say, can I just cut out gluten? You can do however you want.
Yeah.
We cut out the inflammatory foods all at once because you're eliminating those triggers. But if you just remove gluten, for example, that's only one thing that's potentially causing inflammation.
Right.
So to heal the gut and to reduce inflammation, we want to pull out all of those
Yeah, you
triggers.
really got to go all in for it to work.
Yep. It's the same thing when you're sick, right? Like hydrate, sleep. I mean, it's not just like, well, I'm just going to sleep, but I'm not going to drink water. It's kind of like we need to do all those pieces to really nurture and nourish,
right?
Provide the greatest opportunity for the gut to actually,
heal.
Heal.
I love that.
So I think that's from a gut testing perspective. That's what I look at. I do, look at cortisol sometimes, but most patients, they come in and I kind of do like the repeat back, right? And they're like, oh, I'm like, I don't think we need to test your cortisol. I think it's pretty clear. They're like, yeah, I'm not sleeping and I'm tired like in the morning, but wired at night. And,
right.
So we're not typically testing, but that plays a role for sure. So I think a lot of nervous system, I'll recommend the Nerva IBS app.
Yeah. Dr. P likes that also.
I really like it. And I personally haven't done it, but I have a couple clients who have done it. And I have a couple of clients, friends and clients who are counselors or working kind of in the mental health world. And they're like, oh my gosh, we're having our patients do this. And then we're sending them to you. Because there's that piece of like, if your nervous system, if you're always kind of buzzing and you're always in fight or flight, it's really hard to heal your gut.
Right.
We can do them together. So acupuncture, Nerva IBS, mindfulness, just even like chewing your food.
Yeah.
Not in your car on the way to work on a conference call.
Yeah.
I mean, so that piece I think is really important. Sleep.
Yeah.
Real food.
So important.
Those are the things. Some gut protocols are like, 3 months. Some gut protocols are 6.
Yeah.
Some it can be a little bit longer. I mean, it depends. I've been seeing a lot of people with more of the IBD picture, IBD and fertility picture.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's like, okay, we share our gut with our baby. If there's inflammation in here, our body's always going to choose survival over reproduction when it comes to that, right? So we've got to heal that. And not to mention for women, like everything is just geographically in one area.
Right.
So naturally the inflammation is going to impact each other. So you can have inflammation in your gut and your gut is around your ovary. Like we just want to make that a healthy, happy, balanced, harmonious area of the body.
Yeah.
And I think if we start there, it helps the rest of the body.
Yeah, you're so right.
Brain, skin, all the different things. So we say, the gut-brain axis. And like we said, the gut sends so many more messages to the brain than the brain sends to the gut. And that's that right there. I mean, hopefully people now get we just talked about a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But
covered a lot of ground. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good intro to what the gut-brain axis is and some of the symptoms that patients are having. We were talking about before we started recording when you feel anxious, you have to run to the bathroom or
gut feeling, your butterflies.
Butterflies. Like that's a real thing. Yeah. But the gut-brain axis is a true connection and we can help you to get to the root of that problem. And it sounds like more often than not, we're starting with testing and then moving through more of a gut restoration protocol, but then also leaving space that there's so many other facets that come to play with these patients. And the foundation stuff matters: sleep, movement, food, all of it.
Yeah.
It's a lot to handle on your own, but you can do it.
Yeah.
We just need...
You don't have to do it on your own, though.
Yeah, you just need a partner. Partner in health.
I think
not holistic.
Yeah, exactly. I think asking the questions, like, I was doing a group visit the other day, and I'm like, this is an invitation, right? This is an invitation to come ask your questions.
Yeah.
And to explore your health.
Yeah.
And
go deeper.
Learn more. You can have symptoms. You don't have to. Like some people come, they're like, you know what? I feel really good, but I want to keep feeling really good.
Yeah, I want to feel better.
I have all these things going on right now, and I know at some point, at some point, we're always going to be challenged, right? The terrain theory, like,
right.
It's cold and flu season. So many moms right now are like, I just can't. I used to, but now my kids are in daycare or my kids are coming home sick, but they're also like, they already have a gut thing going on or they already have something going on. So they're already compromised. So their terrain's already not where it needs to be. And then the kids are like, and here comes another germ and here comes another germ. And it's just, and then you're like, gosh, I was sick all winter. Definitely have brain fog. Don't feel good. Now my cycles are off. Now everything's kind of out of balance. So it is
my mood is off.
And this is where it's art and science. It's never the same for everybody. Yeah, that's how I typically look at it. And I think from like the mood perspective, yes, balancing hormones from, reproductive hormones to thyroid hormones,
all of it.
All of it. excluding things that trigger or kind of food trigger specifically, I would say taking care of yourself is the biggest thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I hear people who are like, dude, what about this supplement? What about that supplement? I'm like,
Stop with the supplements, guys.
so like you wake up every morning, the first thing you just put on the news,
Yeah.
right? And then it's like, but I'm too tired to go to the gym, right? I don't have enough time, or I'm not sleeping, or I'm not drinking water. Like with dehydration is one of the biggest stressors on our body. Like
Yeah.
our cells need water.
Yeah.
People come in with headaches and migraines. Do you drink water? Well, no. I'm like,
Yeah.
water, magnesium,
Yeah.
right?
Electrolytes.
Electrolytes,
Sodium.
fiber. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just let's start there. Most people are like,
Yeah.
oh my God, you changed
Yeah.
my life. I'm like,
Yeah.
not really. Like, yes, because that's what we're trained
Yeah.
in and we know, but we
Yeah.
also know enough. Like, I don't have to go to, oh, you have a migraine, we need to go to a gut protocol right away. Like,
Yeah.
if you're not drinking, like, start here. And
Yeah.
yes, we're going to still look at your gut.
Yeah.
Like,
We'll still go deeper, but
we'll still go
let's.
deeper. Still start here.
Yeah.
And gut, like, restoring the microbiome and balancing that just plays such a big role through
It
that like
does.
integrative functional psychiatry protocol. Like it's yes, zinc and minerals and fatty acids and exercise and energy and we need B vitamins and amino acids, but the gut is still that piece. And there
Yeah.
are so many rate limiting factors that can be missing.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest, when people do come in and we're talking about mood or gut brain, like I don't go there first. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
vitamin D is important.
Yeah.
We live in the northern hemisphere. I mean,
Yeah.
most people. I will say, if you're not on a vitamin D, let's check your levels to make
Yeah.
sure you need it.
Dose you
And I think I've
appropriately.
had like one person not need it.
Yeah.
Most people come in
Same.
taking vitamin D,
Yeah.
but magnesium, zinc, other one, amino acids. I like amino acids. I think they're the building blocks, right? I personally saw a difference in myself starting amino acids, but we also need it for muscle and
Yeah.
workout and kind of building blocks for everything. So I will start people on amino acids and fatty acids, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I love the microbiome labs, Mega Marine.
Mm-hmm.
And also it has the omegas, but also either PRMs or SPMs, which are
Okay.
additional
Yeah.
anti-inflammatory. You can buy them separately or
Or
you can get
end
them in,
products,
yes,
right? That
yep,
are the most
yep.
anti-inflammatory.
Um, but if you're not breaking down your food and absorbing those fats,
Yeah.
that was me. I was not breaking down any fats.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm like, okay, it's not hydration,
Yeah.
but like brain and skin, if we're not breaking down our fats, we can't use, our body needs fat,
Right.
right? So we can eat,
Brain
I'm like,
needs it.
I drink olive oil. I'm eating avocados every day. I take my fish oil and I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, okay, I'm not breaking down, absorbing it.
Mm-hmm.
So we need all the things to work together um, for everything to work.
Yeah.
And
It all comes together.
it all comes together. Yeah. And I
Such
do remember
important
like
work.
in NP school,
Mm.
it was like, oh, here's your psych course.
Yeah.
And there's things like I can start SSRIs. We can
Yeah.
absolutely do that.
And we still do.
And we still do
Yeah.
all the time,
Yep.
right? And then there's like people who are just trained in psychiatry.
Right.
And I have an integrative psychiatrist I work with, and she's like, "Hey, I did this part, but I need you to dive in on thyroid and gut with this patient." And
Yeah.
I'll too say, "Okay, I'm working on this. We're weaning off of this SSRI, but get over to Crystal and
Yeah.
see her and see because that's her world, and she just works in that. So it's very complementary. But I do think in this field, there's not just like, oh, we just do GI or we just do neuro or we just do derm or we just do
Yeah.
brain. Like it's like we have to be familiar and willing to go. And there's other tests like beyond the gut that we can go. There's food
Yeah.
sensitivity testing, right? If
Right.
we need to. There's hormone testing. There's, I mean, we can get down to like heavy metal talk. Like there's so many
There's a lot
things.
of ground
But
to
if the
cover
gut
for
brain
sure.
access isn't optimal, the other pieces are irrelevant
Right.
in
At
a
that
way.
point.
At that
Yeah.
point,
You have to
yep,
start there.
yeah,
I love that. I feel like that's your take home message today, guys, is the gut brain axis is a
yeah,
real thing
yeah,
and you have to start there. Test. Find somebody that you can work with,
yeah.
do a test, and start the process. We are going to wrap up with a fun little game, this or that. I'm going to give you two options and you tell me which speaks to you.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
Coffee or matcha?
Matcha,
Start early or work late?
start early.
Sauna or cold plunge?
Cold plunge,
Wow. Okay. Protein shake or green juice?
protein shake,
Power nap or a quick workout?
quick workout,
Impact or income?
impact,
Meeting or email?
meeting,
Call or text?
call,
One-on-one or group hangs?
one-on-one.
Work from home or office energy?
Office energy at
Yeah.
HCC.
A night in or out?
In
Last one, dinner or brunch?
dinner.
Same. I love it.
So fun.
So fun.
I was like,
It's like
we
a
have a
little
cold
both,
plunge
but
at home, and I started last year, and I started for my birthday. It was like I turned 45 on the 25th, Is that right? Yeah, Christmas. And I'm like, for 45 days, I'm doing cold plunge. I had to break the ice to get into the cold plunge.
Yikes.
I did it. I did it every day to some Taylor Swift.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
actually did it at night, like after work, which was so weird.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. It really, from a stress, that's a whole other podcast too. From
Yeah.
a stress perspective, it made me feel like I could do anything. It helped my mindset so much.
That's how solid core
It was
works in my
great.
body. It's
Yeah.
like such a hard workout that I'm like, if I can survive this,
Yeah.
I can do anything.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Guys, that's a wrap on our episode with Tamra, exploring the gut brain axis and gut health in general and how it affects your mood. Thank you so much for being
Thanks for having me.
here. We need a part two already.
Yes, I'm excited. I'll be there.
Bye.
Bye.